Not everyone who leaves Islam to become a Christian stays a Christian. This can be a problem, and it's a risk that we need to address, especially as those discipling former Muslims. One of the risks is that they would go back into Islam. There's so much family pressure, there's so much cultural pressure. I think for especially the people that go back to the Middle East, if they came to America and learned about the Lord and salvation here, going back puts them under increased pressure and increases their doubts so that they may be inclined to go back. In the past, about 7 out of 10 Muslims that became a Christian went back to Islam. You can imagine that makes those of us that love Muslims and have been sharing with them scratch our heads and think, what happened? From my perspective, I think I have some insights on that. Let's face it, a lot of the people that changed religions, and in fact, in some parts of the world still do change religions, do it for the wrong reasons. They're converting because they get something out of it. Perhaps these people were more open a lot of the time, because if you are someone who's been told you are lower than everyone else, you might actually doubt it. There might be something inside of you that says, hey, I'm a human just like you. You're not God. You're just a human. And so those people have their eyes more open and they're suffering and they're looking. So that might be why we've had more people interested in the Christian faith from a background of discrimination and poverty. Pressures that a Muslim comes under are very great when they leave the faith. A lot of them have persecution, and we're not talking just about the kind of persecution that a Christian might have if they become a Muslim. Yes, their families might give them a hard time about it, but I have not heard one convert to Islam ever say they feared for their life. And friends, be honest, you know that when a Muslim converts to the Christian faith, they are risking their lives. In fact, if that final fate were not in store for many of them, we would have mass conversions all over. Please, folks, think about it. If your faith is totally right and it's true before God, why would you need to threaten people into doing it? And if they do it only because they will die if they're not a Muslim, is that sincere? I'm not saying that all Muslims believe in killing people that leave Islam or threatening people into becoming Muslims. But you know, historically across the world, this has happened many times and many Christians have lost their lives. And if they haven't lost their lives, it might have been something less severe. It might have been being outcast from their family. Islam has its traditions and its ways, and it's a very strong culture. Imagine how a new Christian coming from a Muslim background suffers at the time of Ramadan. Think of all of the happy memories of their childhood that they have and all of the special things that happened. The new clothes, the special food, the atmosphere of party, the feeling of fellowship, all the wonderful things that are associated with the season of Ramadan. Even the idea that by prayer and fasting they could get closer to God. These are hard things to leave. Imagine being in a country where that's going on all around you and you've pulled out of it. And people are asking you why you're not doing it. Can you see that pressure? It might have been losing a job. I know Christians that have come to America from the Middle East and other countries because they had no way to continue surviving in their own countries. So I'm saying that there are reasons that a Muslim that becomes a Christian may go back to Islam that have to do with persecution, and that have to do with economic pressures. And included in all that is social pressure. Another temptation I have noticed is just license, liberalism, commercialism, and the secular world. Because to many people in Islam and the Middle East, Christianity is associated with freedom. And we know we have freedom in Christ. We're so happy and blessed that we do. But for some people, they think if I become a Christian, I have freedom. And then once they are a believer, they just want to keep on doing secular things and not really get into that close walk with the Lord. And some of them even can fall away because of the attraction of the world, just like the Lord told us in his parable about the different kinds of soil and how the temptations and concerns of the world can draw us away from him. I think the picture has changed. I mentioned that in the past, 7 out of 10 Muslims that became Christians went back to Islam. But friends, I don't believe that any longer. I think the world is changing, and I think we have a lot of evidence that it's changing. As you know, or maybe you don't know, maybe you haven't heard, but in the last 5 or 6 years, within even the country of Egypt, a few million, I'm saying yes, million people have left Islam, largely because of television and internet. And now they know the truth.